Now that Before Dead No More is over, Peter Parker's clash with clones can begin. What's up, everybody? I'm Stan, and welcome to Detail Comics, where we go over comics in detail. This iRate review is going to be about the Clone Conspiracy, issue number 1. So the Clone Conspiracy is really a takeoff of the Amazing Spider-Man storyline called Before Dead No More, and we've seen the groundwork being laid since the earliest part of this new volume of Amazing Spider-Man. So with the introduction of the Jackal way back when, and the collection of his kind of cohorts, these various villains that may or may not have had untimely demises in the past, we see this new Jackal, who we assume to be Miles Warren, basically going on and creating these new people, rebirthing them, growing them from death, making them these new things. The immediate consensus amongst us readers, as well as amongst Peter Parker, is that these are clones, so they're based off of some sort of DNA replication. But what we get in the Clone Conspiracy is something a little bit more in-depth. There's something a little bit more devious about this technology that the Jackal is using. And what he calls it is a reanimation. These remains have been brought back from the dead, resulting in a lot of different characters making their reappearance in the Marvel Spider-Man continuity. That includes characters like Gwen Stacy, her dad, Captain Stacy. We now see a new, revitalized, and a much more youthful Dr. Octopus. That's going to spell a lot of trouble for Peter Parker's Spider-Man. Not only does he feel like he's already faced off with these clones, but he has allies that he doesn't necessarily know have already been converted in as part of the process. If you've been following along with Before Dead No More, you already know that Hobie Brown, the Spider-Man of San Francisco, basically, he's kind of already a clone and working for the Jackal. So that's going to be very frustrating for him. The biggest thing about the storyline in this is that Dan Slott, he's kind of got this fascination with continuity. And what he does in the secondary story of this particular book is kind of add in a little bit of a feature, a little bit of a retcon. In this basically explores the idea that Gwen Stacy has been completely conscious the entire time that she's on top of the bridge during the decisive battle between the Green Goblin and Spider-Man before the untimely demise of Gwen. And we see a very distinct time jump between then and now. And that is giving her character a whole lot of different depth. It's putting her perception into a very different place. And it's a very interesting kind of thing. And that's probably the best thing that I've picked up out of this book, is that we get to see Gwen Stacy in what could be a potentially natural state of mind and how she would actually react. She's not necessarily fawning over a long-lost love of Peter Parker, aka Spider-Man, but ultimately reacting to the fact that the person that she knew had killed her father, or at least she suspected had killed her father, ends up being the person she loved. And that's kind of turning this whole thing on its ear. The one thing that I will say is that the art style by Cheung is great. I really like it. I like it a little bit more than Giuseppe Camuncoli. I'm terrible with his name. But the main book's art has just a different feel. It's got a different vibe. And I like the more kind of kinetic atmosphere that's really surrounding this art. I like the way that the panels are laid out, and the way that you've got, say, like the Rhino and Electro, the female Electro version. I just really like the way that everybody's kind of drawn and the way that they're placed inside the scene. I feel like it's a really well put together machine as far as this is concerned. The big thing that you want to take away from this, though, is that you're going to be reading about the Clone Conspiracy for the next 5 months or so, since this is slated to go all the way through February. There's 5 issues, one coming out every month, and then it also ties into the main Amazing Spider-Man title, which is at least 2 per month, plus we've got Silk and the new Prowler, which is going to be pretty interesting. There's a lot of stuff to read, but as of right now, this book, it's above. It's definitely got a passing grade in my book. It's piqued my interest, and as a Spider-Man fan, I know I have to get it. For those of you out there that aren't webheads, I'd say that you could probably take a pass on this one if it's not necessarily up your alley. But if you want to get a kind of cool clone experience, this might be a great jumping on point. So that's it for my review of the Clone Conspiracy number 1, but I want to know what you guys think, so hit me up in the comments down below and we can start talking about it. As always, if you like what you see, hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe right there to get more news, reviews, and commentary on comic books, comic book movies, comic book TV shows and games, and anything and everything inside the world of comics.